Guys, what is up? Thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast again. Today, we are joined by Stephanie Rado Taormina. She's the founder, designer, and CEO of Have Some Fun Today. You can check her out on havesomefuntoday.com. Awesome, booming fashion brand. Super, super cool that I had the chance to talk with her. We go really deep into the meaning of her brand, the story behind it, where she's going now, the journey overall of how she got there. And I'm really excited to share this episode with you. I got a ton of value from it. Stephanie was really awesome to lend her time. So please enjoy the episode. And as always, thank you for listening. I'm going to see if, oh, I can't do that. Okay, that is cool. I'm still learning myself. Guys, everybody, thank you for tuning into the Search Engineers podcast. Today, we are joined by Stephanie Rado Taormina. I got it. Stuttered a little bit. Stephanie, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, Matt. It's great to be here.
So Stephanie Rado Taormina is the founder, designer, and CEO of the lifestyle brand Have Some Fun Today. You can check that out at havesomefuntoday.com. The links will be in the description. And kind of on the show, Stephanie, we like to learn what you're doing to grow. It is a business and marketing podcast, so I'd like to learn a little bit about your model, how you're marketing, things like that. But I also kind of want to know, because I know for myself, the journey of starting a brand as an entrepreneur, that's a whole separate thing in of itself, the journey. Like, I just want to know, like, what inspired you to do that? What were you doing before? Was this a long time dream of yours?
Not at all. I first went to college. I went to Penn State University, main campus, for 4 years, and I studied advertising, and always kind of wanted to be an artist, was very, talented with art, as my art teachers told me. But I just couldn't wrap my brain around not, going to school to be an artist. You're kind of talked out of that when you're a decent student. I don't know why. I believe in creativity so much, and I'm a big proponent for developing, any avenues of creativity that you have. And so went to Penn State. Halfway through, I decided to become an au pair. So I went to France for a summer, and nobody spoke English. And I carried like a French English dictionary around with me to communicate. And it was a wonderful experience. But the thing that came out of that experience when I was 18 years old was that I decided that I didn't want to be in advertising, and that I really wanted to go for something more artistic. So I got the go ahead from my parents that upon graduation, I would, if I was accepted, I would go to Parsons to study fashion design. So that kind of changed my journey. Graduated Penn State in 87, started Parsons fashion program later that fall, and spent 3 years at Parsons and experienced that project runway in your face kind of, hardcore competitiveness, learning how to present your ideas visually and verbally. And it was a great training ground for me to be the thing that I would build on later with Have Some Fun Today, when I came back around to that. So when I graduated Parsons, I got into the fashion business in New York City and worked there for about three or 3.5 years. One of the companies was Andrew Mark. They made leather coats. They're still in business. But back in the 80s, that was like such a cool brand. And I was so excited to go work for them. And then they went bankrupt. So they laid everybody off, and I had to look for a new job, and found something else that got me to travel all around the world. And it was very interesting. But then I kind of came to a place doing that where I didn't really like the industry. I didn't kind of like the way it felt. So I left again, and I started my own thing. I don't know what I was thinking, 23 years old, and started, going around to Bendel's and Saks and trying to like present my stuff as a young designer. And eventually I did create a brand, and I did that for about 5 years. And that was a bedding brand. I made high-end bedding. And that was actually a thing for a while. And really, it was a great experience because I got to design, collections, and I manufactured them myself with the help of some seamstresses. And I actually got orders all over the country from high-end boutiques that sold, bedding. One of the companies that I worked with and became their freelance, designer was ABC Carpet and Home, which is a really amazing store in Manhattan. And so I kind of did that whole design thing. And then I got married in the course of all this and got pregnant, and I planned to have a family. And I kind of had a not such a great pregnancy, and I had to go on bed rest. So I actually closed my company, and I just shut the doors for me being in business for the time being. And I had my 2 children, and I just started settling into like life and being a mom, being a stay-at-home mom. And I started decorating my home, and then people saw my home and they started asking me to design their homes. And so like for me, I felt like design is very universal if you're taught properly in the right way. So I had a very successful interior design business for about 20 years. So now 20 years go by, and my father, who is very dear to me and to many people in the community, he was a real leader, and he was the most positive person I ever met in my life. And through all of the years of me being an interior designer, he would always be like, Stephanie, why aren't you using your fashion degree? And I'd, argue with him. I'm like, Dad, well, I kind of am, I'm designing all these people's houses, and I'm designing furniture, and, to me, I was. And through all this, my dad would say, every time he spoke to someone, at the end of the conversation, instead of saying, see you later, or goodbye, or nice to talk to you, he'd look at you and he'd go, have some fun today. And
cool.
It's just a funny thing, like I didn't really think much of it. It used to actually get on my nerves. I have 4 young siblings.
Yeah.
And all day long, we would see him at the end, we'd leave, he'd be like, have some fun today at his office, on the answering machine at his company, would say, have some fun today. I mean, It was constantly this silly phrase in my mind at the time. So my dad about 7 years ago, my dad passed away from a long illness.
Sorry.
And it was very moving because at his funeral, over 1,000 people came to his funeral in a little town. Like,
wow,
kind of unheard of, Yeah. Maybe you might get a few hundred for someone who's well known, but that was the first inkling. And on social media, this phrase was going around because people were remembering my dad, and they were remembering this thing that he left with them.
Yeah.
And it was kind of churning in my head. I wasn't really feeling it with designing homes for other people. I had started doing my painting again, and I was just trying to find where I was really meant to go with what I had, my experience. And one day when I was just doing my morning like gratitude spiritual practice, it kind of, I had this vision of a painting that said, have some fun today, not unlike the painting in back of me right now. But I had this vision, and then my brain kind of went to visualizing a t-shirt, and then I visualized this tote bag, and in 5 minutes I had designed a collection in my head. And I was just like, holy cow, I know what I'm going to do now. And I called my mom, as soon as I kind of woke up from this, days of like realizing that what I just did. And I called her and I said, Mom, I'm going to start a brand. And, my mom is so amazing. I probably have done this to her many times in my life. I would proclaim something and then I would do it. So I know in her mind, she was like, okay, Steph's going to start a brand, and I shared a few things on social media and people were into it, and for the next 7 months, I was doing it. I was going to Manhattan. I was finding cut and sew shops. I was finding pattern makers.
Wow.
I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I thought it was going to be like a little Etsy store or something.
Sure.
I kind of was just moved by this spirit.
Wow.
And, in 2015, I launched my website, which was nothing like it is today. Like now I actually have a really, really professional website. Like sometimes I look at it and I think, I did that. Like, I can't even believe I did that, and, it's been an amazing journey. It's really cool when people message me or contact me and people I don't even know. And they say, I have an idea, how should I do this? What did you do? And, it's really cool to be able to share advice, share what I did. Cause, to me, there's enough room for everyone to have a dream.
Yeah.
I have been really blessed with all the people who I've asked for help, and that they gave it to me. And it's just been a really empowering journey. And so here I am 7 years later, knock on wood, and I'm about to launch my first collection of designer bags this fall.
Wow. Congrats.
Thank you. We just, completed, the first 8 months of our new direction of sustainability. We are trying to make all of the things going forward out of recycled materials or natural materials or eco-friendly materials. So, it's a big space, and it takes a lot to venture into it, especially for a smaller company. But I just believe it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I am right now with why I'm doing it and where I am with, the main part of the business. As for the marketing, I'll ask me some questions and we'll go on from there.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's really cool. I think that's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. That's what I thought was, which kind of moved me from that was at the time you thought the saying was annoying.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought it was silly,
Yeah. No, I just feel like there's wisdom there, right? Because it's like the experiences we have with, with these people, like little minor things like that, you don't even think about, right? And then like later on, it becomes like one of the biggest things, becomes your brand, right? And like you look at it now and you're like, oh my goodness, and you realize it's a staple of what he says. So I think that's a really beautiful expression of him, and my condolences to you. And
I appreciate it.
he
was great. I'm sure it's I feel my father's presence, and every now and then I'll say, send me a sign, let me know I'm doing the right thing. And then something crazy, amazing will happen. I'm like, I do believe in that. I really do.
Wow.
I ask for signs all the time.
Yeah. Listen, hey, I'm 100%. Me too. You talked about visualization a little bit, visualizing them, the saying on a t-shirt in your morning meditation and gratitude practice. That's what I'm like the most interested in right now. Like, is that still a big part of your day-to-day life? Like now, and how big of a role did visualization have to play in this whole brand?
Oh my God. It's 50%.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, as an artist, I mean, yes, I'm a designer, but beyond that, I'm an artist. And I actually view this whole brand as my work of art. The things that it stands for, because to me, have some fun today is not a t-shirt. It's not a bag. It is the meaning behind sharing this very joyful,
Wow.
simple message. That is the art. It's a performance art.
Yeah.
You know, it's conceptual art.
Mm.
And so now I'm so excited to bring my actual art back into the brand. And yes, visualization and spirituality are so important to how this brand is developing,
Mm.
because it isn't about the thing. It's about something much
Yeah.
deeper and richer. And
Wow.
something that I hope it will give people a gift by
Mm.
seeing it. Like, you know, the experience of walking down the street and seeing someone with a t-shirt that very boldly says, I should have had one of my t-shirts on, have some fun today.
Yeah.
You're gonna smile.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's
That's
gonna
big.
put a smile on anyone's face who's really
Mhm.
gonna read it. That's a gift.
Yeah.
So you don't even know that you've just made a bunch of people smile and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
So there's a very beautiful synergy between, you know, using products as my canvas,
Yeah.
you know, and having the ability to design the canvas, you know, whether it's a handbag or it's a hat or it's a t-shirt or it's a piece of art, you know. So
Yep.
it's I feel very honored to be able to do that.
That's beautiful. And so it's not even just the business, it's not just the brand. You're not pursuing it for an end goal outcome. It's an expression of something so much bigger, something so much more meaningful that just drives you, and just as a byproduct, everything blossoms from that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
very it's it's like a movement,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
It's like it just opens your mind to be like, well, yeah, I have to go to people have to work. People have to pay their bills, people
mhm,
have to go to school, people have to put roofs over their heads. We know we have to do certain things to survive,
right,
but if you can find it in yourself to do it and enjoy it, find some way to enjoy what you do in life. Yeah,
mm.
so much, you're going to be a lot healthier, happier, and you're probably not going to get sick. You know, there's just
Right.
all kinds of positive benefits to having some fun every day.
That's really cool. So I like how you said that, finding a way to enjoy it. So even everybody's got to work, you're saying, right? And
I mean,
like,
yeah.
you know,
You know, I'm a single mom now. My children are in their 20s now, so I'm not like taking them to school and all that stuff.
mm,
But you know, I have my things I have to do and
yeah,
responsibilities that are mine, but I'm still going to find a way to enjoy it, you know?
yeah,
So
hmm,
it's not like fun has to be you know, going and drinking or going to a party or going to a concert. Fun could be making your dinner very joyfully. Fun
yeah,
could be going for a morning walk. I mean, it could
mhm,
be so many things. It's more of a mindset.
yeah. No, for sure. I mean, like having fun can be anything, right? Like I remember, I won't forget it too. When I first started going to the grocery store as a young, like as a young person, like shopping for myself, I remember being like, oh my God, like this is so much fun. And like just finding the beauty in such a mundane
Yeah, there you
thing,
go.
right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep. Just a day-to-day
Yeah.
task, right? Doing your bills could be sitting down with your pen and paper, could be, right?
Well, you could be grateful that you can pay them. Hey,
Mhm.
this is kind of fun. I can pay my bills.
This is not getting turned off today. Thank you, universe.
Yes, my electricity is running.
Yeah,
Um, you know, so anyway, that's kind of my take on what I do.
yeah,
And you know, it's a big payback to me when like someone who's survived cancer, you know, like this happens. I get, you know, emails and texts from people like, I survived cancer and I want one of your bags. I want to carry it with me every day because I'm so happy I'm alive, you know?
Wow.
We get, I think as designers and entrepreneurs, we're providing something for people,
Mhm.
and I think
Mhm.
you just have to stay connected to the fact that I'm giving a service,
Yeah.
I'm providing a service in more than one way. So I don't know, I take it very seriously and now I'm ready to take it to the next level. So, I'm trying to figure out ways to market better.
Mm.
And and that's been really interesting. We started an Amazon store this past year, since April,
Nice.
and that is beginning stages. Amazon is a little tricky to get going.
Okay.
It takes a while to get their algorithm to like you and
Mm. Interesting.
to compete against people who have been doing it for a while and are bigger. So that's
Yeah.
an interesting marketing excursion. And I'm I have kind of hesitated with hiring someone to help me with Facebook advertising.
Mhm.
That's primarily where I advertise, with Facebook
Okay.
and Instagram.
Mhm.
And honestly, I'm doing it by myself right now, but
That's great though.
probably at some point I will be turning that over. What is hard to find, it's hard to find the right person. There's also advertising on Pinterest and Google, which I also do, but I'm kind of doing all of that. And someone else could probably do it better than
Sure.
I'm doing it. But
Mhm.
for right now, I am not venturing there because I have decided to venture in other areas with my spend, such as I've hired a
Yeah.
PR company and
Ah.
it just started in August and they're out of Los Angeles. And so I am, you know, buying into it for 6 months and seeing what it can do for my brand.
Mhm.
And then, because on the marketing end, that's pretty much it. I mean, I've hired reps, but that's not marketing.
Right.
And then, I also feel like the imagery that you select is very important. So, you know, investing in quality visuals
Mm. Yep.
to me is very important because, I know every business is a little different, but I feel for fashion,
Mhm.
you really, it's so nuanced
Yeah.
that, and I'm so picky about that it's just something I'm very involved in. And that's a tough area. Like you really have
Totally.
to feel a connection with,
Mhm.
whether you're doing your own images, which I do some of mine. I mean, I'm a very visual person, so
Mhm.
I can do a lot more probably than the average entrepreneur.
Right.
Um, but I definitely believe in hiring a really fabulous photographer. And that can be tricky,
Mhm.
because you're putting a lot of faith and sometimes it costs a lot of money
Yeah.
to do that. So that's a tricky area, and I'm very selective with that. And I think I've been very lucky with my selections so far.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I mean, you definitely seem to have some great images on your website. The photography, the models, everything. You definitely seem to have an eye for that.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
and you said you just started on Amazon.
Yeah.
So have you guys, are you guys, just out of curiosity, are you guys running advertising on Amazon or are you just,
Yes.
you
Mhm.
are?
Yeah, I hired a company that manages the whole thing.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so they're
Great.
managing everything with that. I'm kind of going in a different direction with the brand. So I
Yeah.
just like not everything needs to sit on my website. And so Amazon, we have an
Interesting.
Amazon store. So we're kind of putting things on the Amazon store that is no longer sitting on our website.
That is interesting. So you are kind of messing around a little bit with your inventory in terms of not having everything on your website. Some things are exclusively on Amazon.
Yeah.
Are some things exclusively in retail stores as well?
Um, No,
Okay.
no. Some things are not offered to retail stores right now because they're on Amazon. So anything that is on our Amazon store is not offered to retailers.
Okay.
So our business model is B2B and
Mm.
B2C. And so we do wholesale to one of the main niches for our brand are resorts and hotels and wellness facilities
Wow.
because of the branding. Have some
Okay.
fun today. You're on a vacation, you want to have fun.
Oh.
So someone discovered this synergy years ago, and so that was really our primary wholesale outlet, not outlet, but
Yeah. Sales
distribution
channel type of thing.
channel
Yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
that we were doing for years. Now, this past year, we hired some new reps. We felt at
Mhm.
the time with our new bags are just beautiful. Uh,
Mm.
the bags are gorgeous, and that's kind of really what I'm focusing on right now. Um, and they deserve to be in stores because they're so
Yeah.
beautiful. And so, this year we're branching out into boutiques all over the country,
Mm.
and we sell to resorts and hotels all over the country and into Central America and the Caribbean for now.
Wow. That is really smart. Whoever on your team or you that came
No,
up with the idea.
it was someone in the wellness world who, there are people who see it and they fall in love with it. And I don't, and like this woman hounded me for like a year. She's like, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. And finally I was like, okay, we can work together. And then she called me a couple like months later and she's like, I got orders for this hotel and like big hotels. I'm like,
Wow.
oh, this is awesome.
It just happens. I think like the message, the overall brand though, it's great. It's like there's a serendipitous event that just happens. It's like it's natural, it works.
Yeah.
There's a real movement to it. There's something meaningful connected to it. And I think maybe people feel that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, COVID was very interesting for me, marketing wise, my e-commerce business went up 150%. It was really, amazing. I was kind of wondering what was going to happen, but, with all the resorts being closed and that had been going so well up until COVID. So that changed, but now that's coming back and then some. We just did a deal with a hotel group and they want to put their logo on the back of our sustainable shopping tote, which we just did for them.
Oh, congrats. That's so
So
cool.
there are some really great branding opportunities, even licensing opportunities
Right.
between like have some fun today at wherever.
Oh. Oh man, that's just getting me thinking of like, that's so cool. See, that's what's interesting to me about the business side of really any industry, right? If you have a meaningful brand, if you have something to give, there's so many different ways that can manifest, right?
Yeah.
Like the resort thing. That's just so like tell me about how that started. Like what's the story of like you connected with somebody or they just reached out to you and started making calls? Was it a friend?
Well, for about the first 2 years, I did a lot of like trunk shows, parties. It was very me getting in my car with all my stuff, someone hosting a little trunk show, and me schlepping wherever I could. So it's kind of like a grassroots kind of thing, and people heard about it. We even did one at Facebook headquarters in New York City.
Wow.
Yeah, we really hustled. We even have a YouTube channel where a young filmmaker came to me. He went to high school with my daughter, and he said, Mrs. Taormina, I think this is a really interesting story. I think people would love to hear how you developed this brand. So for a year, I had this young filmmaker named Patrick Corcoran. He came we spent a lot of time together. He knows my whole family. And so, stuff like that, people would hear about it. And so at one of these trunk shows, I guess someone was showing their friend who is in wellness. She's a rep for wellness brands. And she's like, this is perfect for the wellness, for the hotel group. So that's how she saw us,
It's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's, I think sometimes you just gotta just do what you think is right. Ask as many questions, just put it out there. And I think like if something's meant to happen back, it will. I mean, I know that sounds kind of laissez-faire, but it's not.
Right.
You are constantly putting it out there, and
Right.
Someone's going to see it and something's going to hit, and every now and then something incredible happens. That's kind of how it's been going for the past 7 years.
That's awesome. It just falls together, right? So it's like, it's not all just you sit and wait and think. It really is, right? Like you said, like you're there was tons of work you were putting in on the back end. I mean, sure, the right moment happened and you met some great people, but I mean, it took you putting something out there for that to ever even, for them to even be on your radar, right? Like it's
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I really appreciate this. This story is so cool. Now you're growing a ton right now. You're doing Amazon. You're growing. You're thinking of maybe getting with somebody to do Facebook for you. Now Facebook has been your main thing.
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram are my main channels of how I like do ads.
Okay.
Google, I do Google ads, but again, I'm not doing it in an agency way. I'm just kind of digging in there, and it's almost like I'm dabbling. Like I create all the content,
Yeah.
So, and I kind of create it for the most part that day. I'm really, it's so personal to me right now.
Yeah.
And I think that has been what has made it appealing to people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your strength. Sure.
Like, it's kind of like I've lived a pretty full life up until now, and there's a lot of wisdom in, even though it's a fashion post, sometimes there's a lot of wisdom hidden in that fashion post.
It is a blessing and is a true testament to how far you've come. Congratulations on all your success, all your growth that's coming. I see awesome things happening. I can feel the energy. I can feel the excitement. I really do. I feel your connectedness to what you're doing. And, I really appreciate your story and sharing everything with us. Would you like to put any specific call to action for our listeners today? Havesomefuntoday.com. Is that right?
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, if there's any marketing person out there who thinks that they want to contact me, I would be, with knowing what I just said, please feel free to reach out. If you're just a normal person who wants to share some cool energy, we make really cool hats. I don't know if you wear a cool hat. Our coffee mug is free. Awesome. We make all kinds of cool stuff. It's just it's all well made. It's a nice gesture, and it's a good way to put yourself in the right mood for having a successful day. Sweet.
Guys, I'm going to do it. I'm going to close this out with, don't forget to have some fun today. Stephanie, thank you so much. This was very fun. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you again.
All right. Take care.